I'm the Book Baron. Welcome in, everybody. So today, I apologize in advance, I have you guys at a crazy angle because I'm trying to face the window as much as possible because it's raining a whole bunch. Forgive me for that, but we are here today to talk about my favorite books of the year. These are the ones that stuck with me. These are the ones that I think about all the time. These are the ones that I'm always like on the edge of rereading. I didn't go for a specific number because I thought I had 10 and I was like, nailed it. It just came so natural to me. I think I have actually like 8 or 9. I do have quite a variety. There's some contemporary, there's some dark, there's some fantasy, there's quite a few dystopian and a post-apocalyptic. I was really on one with that genre this year, and honestly, I don't see any signs of stopping because there's like more and more being released. Love that for me. Okay, I think I just bumped you guys. Are you okay? Are you good? I also did want to note that the time frame for these books is a little bit not quite 2025. I don't count my books in December towards favorites of the year, even if I really love them, but they're eligible for next year. So these are reads from like December 2024 to end of November 2025 because I want to make sure that they have the staying power. I want to make sure that I've had some time to sit with them because sometimes I get a little bit too excited about a book right after I finish it and it's not quite as good as I feel like it is in that moment. And now that we have that out of the way, let's jump into the books. So first up, we have Born for Silk, and this is by Nicci Harris. I read this one in December of last year. This is part of an interconnected series. It's a dystopian dark romance, but it lives kind of feeling-wise somewhere between fantasy and sci-fi. Basically, in this world where thousands of years in the future, society as we know it collapsed because of climate change, because of genetic manipulation. We had so many wars. It just absolutely destroyed civilization. What rose up in its place is sort of a utopia called the Cradle. So you can exist outside of the Cradle. You can be out in the wastes, out in the desert. But there are cannibals that do want to munch on you. So, you know, you don't want to be in the Cradle. But here, there is a lot of rules. The biggest one is that your life's purpose pretty much drives everything about how you live your life. And your life's purpose is a job. In exchange for fulfilling this role, you get food, safety, shelter, you're taken care of. Now, Aster is our heroine, and her designated purpose is to be a silk girl. Their job is to produce heirs for the trade. So any babies that they have go back into the trade and become workers. Some of them might become king. You never know. Now, she ends up catching the attention of Rome, who is the king. He is pretty monstrous. His genetics essentially have been engineered so that he can survive and rule in this dystopian world. He is heartless, he is brutal, he can show no weakness, no emotion, and he's absolutely not allowed to have any sort of bonds. If anyone was to ask me, this is Dune. It is sexy, horny, Handmaid's Tale Dune. I loved this book because we started out in the hero's perspective, which I just found so unexpected, but you get to see really how cutthroat this world is. So you kind of get a peek behind like, what's the reality that we're dealing with? Then we get to the heroine's perspective, and it's almost a little bit more fairy tale like. They're not supposed to experience much stress, but our heroine, she's a little bit odd, and so they tend to bully her. She really likes hanging out more so with animals than anything else, and she does her best efforts to fall in line, but she just can't help but be herself. And I think because you see how much these two are really raised to only do what they're designated to. They're only trying to fulfill their life's purpose. When they have any moment of vulnerability, it feels so hard fought because it goes against everything that they have been taught. Just because of the setup, as you can imagine, they have to produce an heir. This is quite high on the spice scale. And while there were a few times that I did feel like it bogged things down, I did still feel like there was that emotional payoff that I really just loved. And I absolutely devoured this book. Now that said, when I initially finished this, I think I gave it a 4 or 4.5. So it wasn't a perfect book. There's a few issues that I had with pacing. And then there was also an issue I had with some modern language that was getting injected into some of the dialogue that felt a little bit off in contrast to the rest of the world. But the longer I sit with this book, the more I just appreciate it. And oh, it's such a good one. Next up, I have The Land of the Beautiful Dead, and this is by Arlie Smith. This is a standalone. It's post-apocalyptic or apocalyptic. I actually don't know how to classify this one. There's sort of a Beauty and the Beast dynamic because the hero is like a god or demon thing. He's also difficult to describe. This is about Azrael the Eternal. He is the bringer of death. He has brought up the apocalypse. He brought up these eaters, which basically means that anyone dies turns into this like zombie thing that then attacks other humans. And he rules from this walled off city called Haven. Lan was born into this world. She's never known anything different, but for some reason she can't give up hope. She still is so hopeful that the world can be different, that she can make a change. So she ends up infiltrating Azrael's home, intent on confronting him and basically begging him to end the eaters. Now, when she gets there, she basically stumbles into his dinner party. Initially is very irritated, but something about her is very intriguing to him. And so instead of just immediately ending her like he would anybody else, he decides to hear her out. She can try and convince him, but she has to stay under his roof in order to do that. Also, she's got to give in to his very cold, very dead embrace. This one, I think the world was just really fascinating. It did remind me a bit of zombie apocalypse books, but it was just so gritty and at times really gross. The descriptions were both beautiful and disgusting. Sometimes they were meandering, sometimes they were overly detailed, but there was just this very rich world that felt so real. I will say that the writing is probably one of the things that will be the most divisive piece of this book. You're either gonna really like it or really dislike it. I took a minute to get used to it. Once I got past the initial feel of it, because it was just so different than anything else I had read, I really grew to love the descriptions. Lan's a fun character because she's like so scrappy. While she tries to have this strategy, she tries to think of a way to woo Azrael to her side, to make him sympathize with her plight. She doesn't do it in the way that you would expect. She's not gonna fawn over him. She's still very much herself. And sometimes that means she really aggravates him. I think it makes her feel very, very human and not like this complete self-sacrificing hero sometimes see with these types of books where they're just the perfect sacrifice, the perfect martyr. She is absolutely not like that. In fact, there are other girls in this world and she hates the out of these women. Hates them, hates them, hates them. Azrael is unique because although he's like defensive and jaded, which I think you would expect for undead, eternally living, what am I saying? What are these words? For like an eternal being, he's not stoic. He's actually pretty chatty at times. He does like to monologue and talk over the heroine at times because he really thinks of himself as a lot smarter. He's seen more of the world. He knows more than she does. And she's just this ignorant girl. So you can see him kind of almost toying with her with his arguments because he knows he can just talk circles around her. And slowly they both change and learn to appreciate the way the other person sees the world and also understands more of their life experience and how much that has impacted their view of the world. And then you get to see Azrael's soft underbelly and Lan slowly falls for him and there's this amazing caretaking scene. I didn't know how this was going to get to an HEA. It just absolutely rips your heart out, but it is so beautiful. There is not a more perfect ending to this book. This is definitely one that I would say is very character driven. I wouldn't go into this one for plot. And there are some sections that feel at times boring. Looking at you, garden section, I do not give a shit about planting trees. It's definitely not a perfect book. When I first got done, I was like, this is a 4-star, but I cannot stop thinking about this book. This book kept me company through a really wild time in my life. It was just so nice to just constantly be able to return to this place, to these characters that were on this journey together. A next favorite, and honestly one that truly, truly surprised me, it's the Fisherman duet. It starts with The Naked Fisherman, and then it's The Lost Fisherman. You nailed it. The Lost Fisherman by Julie Ann. So this is like a slow burn. It's forced proximity, age gap. Heroine is freshly 18. She reunites with her mom in Colorado after 5 years spent apart. Her mom was in prison for growing the devil's lettuce. And so they haven't been together in a while. Her dad passed. So she's actually been living with her ultra religious grandparents. She's excited about reuniting with her mom, but when she arrives, she's really surprised because her mom's like, surprise, I actually need to go away for some much needed job training. So she is gonna be gone for over a month, which leaves our heroine renting the basement from her super hot landlord, who's also her upstairs neighbor and her soon-to-be boss. She spends the summer trying to learn to navigate being an adult, deciding what she wants for her future, and this all kind of butts up against these religious views that she has been taught and hasn't really had a chance to question. Don't worry, the neighbor's there to help her out. I'm not gonna lie, I had seen this duet going around. A lot of people were saying that they really liked it, and people that I trust even, but I just had less than no interest in it. It had a punny title. His name is Fisherman. That gives me the ick. That's the opposite of what I like. Cartoon cover usually to me is too soft, too fluffy, too rompy. I need something with a little bit more grit. I was hearing a lot about how unlikable this heroine was, and I was like, well, why would I even put myself through this? This sounds horrible. But when I asked people, I want to start reading Julie Ann. I hear she's really emotional. I was in the soft girl era. I don't know if you guys remember that from the summer. Oh, what a time. But you guys rode hard for this duet, and Sam Reads a Little even sent me this long voice note. She had like a whole reasoning as to why, and this was the one that she was really pushing me, and you guys were really pushing me to read. You know what? You guys were correct because I devoured this duet in under 24 hours. It was just a perfect summer read because the first book at least takes place during the summer. It's very much like a coming of age. It's single POV from the heroine's perspective. The heroine is very tough to love at the beginning, but I think she reminded me so much of my younger self that I just had this like painful love for her because she's so sheltered and yet she wants to be taken seriously as an adult. She doesn't want to be treated like she's naive, but she is naive because she views everything in black and white. She hasn't really had time to explore that gray area, kind of figuring out what her boundaries are because she really hasn't had a chance to explore and grow in that way. Fisher, I don't think I really liked him at first, but I think the more I saw how he interacted with the heroine, the more I liked him because he kind of starts out like that annoying, weird, distant like cousin or uncle that kind of teases you for having a boyfriend at Christmas. And they're just trying to do anything to kind of rile you up because they get some sort of sick sense of pleasure out of that. Wait, everyone else has uncles and like cousins like this, right? It's not just my family. I realized I might have revealed too much. Anyway, let's move on. But their personalities really do click, and this just had such a unique second chance in that second book. That second book is magic because they have time apart. The heroine really has a ton of time to grow, and you even start to see that growth take place in that third act. It was just so juicy, so hard fought for that HEA. There are so many hard, real world decisions that they need to make that have consequences that hurt people when they make these choices. Perfect book, perfect time. So next up, I really debated on this one. I really didn't know which one I was gonna go with, but I knew I had to do something from the Kindled series by Claire Kent. I think I'm gonna go with Citadel because I've talked about Princess a couple of times, but I somehow forgot Citadel in my wrap up the other month. I'm just absolutely obsessed with the series. Like even a 3-star book in this series is like still a favorite. Does that make any sense? Does anyone else have books like that? Anyway, I think this is the 5th book. These are all interconnected. There's like light crossover and cameos from some of the other books in the series, but it's post-apocalyptic. It's a lot about survival, and this one is second chance. The heroine and her sister have really only been able to rely on each other since the world kind of fell apart after the asteroid hit and society went to shit. Oh, that kind of rhymed. That's kind of a sad rhyme though. Anyway, so they ended up finding another group of survivors that are living off the coast. Now, the coast isn't really an area that a lot of people live because it's been so ravaged by flooding and natural disasters. Most people live on the interior of the US and have moved away from the coast, but they've found a way to kind of carve out an existence for themselves. They've been able to have relative safety, but it isn't without having to have a little bit of an exchange. So they're not there out of the goodwill. This isn't like a group coming together because the humanity and the human spirit, it's none of that. It's very transactional. Things change when their group is suddenly attacked by another group moving through the area, and the heroine by chance manages to basically jump out a window with her sister and ends up getting rescued by a man named Cole, who she had a happen chance? Is that a word? Happenstance? Is that the word I'm looking for? I'm really stuck on this. I need to move on. But she just had a chance encounter. That's the word. She had a chance encounter with this guy like maybe a day ago and just happened to recognize him and was like, I think this guy might be a good one. It's like pure gut instinct. From there, they find out Cole has been trying to track down his brother for a long time. He fell in the wrong crowd and he's with one of the droves, people who basically just like come sweeping through areas, pillaging, killing, all of that. They're not a great group. And so he's trying to rescue him from one of these droves. He decides that he'll take a break, get the girls to safety before resuming his trek. Heroine starts developing feelings, but she really tries to fight them because she knows that he is a leaver. She's warned that he's a leaver. She knows that he wants to find his brother and help his brother above all else. But she's about to learn that lesson the hard way. But they will be forced to team up once more in order to save her sister. I loved this one because I feel like the other books in the series, there's been some sort of plan or some sort of luck involved with having an isolated cabin or a pre-planned bunker or some sort of safe space that they start out in. And this one is very much, they're on very tentative footing. I also thought it was fun because the heroine has issues with her eyesight. So we actually have to reckon with that when she's like trying to shoot and stuff like that, which I thought was a fun, unique detail because I don't think that's come up before. And I'm like, I know a lot of us wear glasses and contacts, so we will be screwed. I liked this hero a lot too because he was also very different, a lot more chatty and a little bit more in touch with his emotions, even if he's had to like shove them down with some of his training and also just with how the world is now. But it's just a nice change up. He wasn't quite as stoic. The pacing on this one was great too because you don't stay in any one place for too long. It felt like it kind of kept the story moving. It didn't feel like anything got too repetitive. There was effective use of time jumps in here. The chemistry between hero and heroine was incredible. Oh my goodness. You can tell that they immediately have a sense of how to read the other person. Even very early on, the hero was like asking the sister after they had kind of a tough conversation. He was like, why is she upset? Why is she upset? He can tell immediately, even when the sister can't tell. And I liked that there were, some tough choices that were made and they aren't brushed over. They have to work on rebuilding trust. And that's a big part of the emotional intimacy that these two have. It's a lot of small gestures. It's a lot of familiarity, the comfort of being known by someone, of not having to constantly explain yourself. And the hero, I think, really comes to reckon with the choices that he made. That doesn't get glossed over. The heroine has a spine and takes him to task and is like, nope, I gave you a shot. And actually, I really don't want to give you a second one because I learned my lesson. And so he really has to prove himself. I just adore this series. It's absolutely top tier. I am savoring every last book because every time I read one of these bad boys, when I'm in a moment of desperation, I'm like, I truly just don't know what to read. It always sends me into a slump because they're so good. I'm like, nothing else compares. Next up is another book from my soft girl era, and it is Antihero by CW Farnsworth. This is the second book in the second generation Kensington? That's not right. Kensington series. So the first book is False Gods, but these are all interconnected, so you can kind of read them in whatever order. This one is Surprise, Pregnancy, and Billionaire, and also Workplace. I know, shocking? I liked Workplace. We have Kit Kensington, and he is the middle child. He's the oldest boy, total playboy. He's got money, he's got status, he's got looks. He's also got charisma in spades, so the girls are just falling at his feet. He is just about ready to start working at the family empire, the family business, Kensing Consolidated, because he is going to be the future CEO. But he might get a little bit distracted because his new assistant is his longtime crush, his sister's college friend, and more recently, the woman he had a one-night stand with by the name of Collins Tate. He's trying to put that aside. He's trying to be professional because he really does want to be taken seriously, and Collins really needs this job because she is fresh off of a breakup. She moved from Chicago to Brooklyn, and she's been struggling to find work, which is how she got this job in the first place. Was literally her friend Lily was like, please, bro, can you give my friend a job? Even though it's not her dream job, it does pay the bills. But things are gonna get really uncomfy because that one night stand that they're trying so desperately to ignore, yeah, it's got a notable presence because it turns out that Collins is pregnant. I do need to reread Fake Empire, but this might take its place as my favorite CW Farnsworth book. Like, I was really trying to think of negatives because, like, even favorites, there are certain things that I don't like about them, but this is one where I'm like, that was actually excellent. So the initial counter is it fade to black, so it doesn't break tension, and there's still kind of this tension because it wasn't really that serious. I also like that they read older. These guys feel more like they're close to early 30s, mid 30s even though they're like early 20s. Kit is like top tier book boyfriend material. Yeah, he's a little bit of a smooth talker, but he's very earnest. He's very endearing. He's charming. He's so immensely funny and just shockingly sweet. And he's so gone for Collins. He's trying desperately to kind of keep it under wraps. Now, Collins is a heroine that reminds me a little bit more of myself because she's a very practical gal. Doesn't think Kit would be interested in her. She's like, I don't want to be another one of those hanger-oners. He's got so many women falling all over him, and I just don't want to be that person. She doesn't want to seem like she's taking advantage, especially with this pregnancy. And he's also younger, so she kind of writes him off as not really a viable option. She's trying to navigate this pregnancy. It's a huge shock and not exactly something that's exciting after just having had a breakup. And she's trying to navigate it with poise and trying to figure out how she does this on her own so that she doesn't look like she's taking advantage of Kit. And I love that the pregnancy really made for a good excuse for them to spend a lot of time together, but it isn't their reason to stay together. It just gives them more of an opportunity to get to know each other, for Kit to really be able to show up in a way that he wasn't able to before because he just couldn't let himself quite get that vulnerable. But now that he's got the excuse, he's gonna do it. And I really love that the relationship did stay pretty slow but steady. It built up, it backslid, and Kit really tries to prove himself over and over again. And just seeing Kit as a dad and a partner, oh my God, I was just an absolute goner. Honestly, I want to reread this because Kit is just absolutely a new book boyfriend. Like, he's so yummy. All right, next up is another one from my soft girl era, and it is My Favorite Bad Decision by Elizabeth O'Rourke. So this is in a vlog that I'll have linked up in the cards. This is an interconnected series. So this one is outdoor wilderness. There's like a billionaire element as well. Enemies to lovers, slow burn. Our heroine is kind of forced to climb Mount Kilimanjaro without having much experience at all. She is not excited about this, but she is willing to do it for assignment for her work. You know, her lack of preparation isn't the only issue that we'll be running into. We also have Miller West, who is a family enemy because he broke up with our heroine's older sister via text. She's got to sleep next to this family rival. She's having to remind herself that he is still the enemy, even if she enjoys their banter and verbal sparring, especially when he starts being a little bit protective, helping her out, looking out for her. And this starts to make the heroine suspect that maybe she never really hated him at all.
At this point, while I was recording, I was questioning why the hell I had to have so many damn favorites. So if you notice my energy drop after this, your girl was tired.
So this one was interesting because it took a second to feel like an Elizabeth O'Rourke. Normally she's got this sharp banter, these very witty heroines, and wow, the heroine is that. There's very much a sense of tension and animosity when these two first meet that isn't playful. But once the banter gets going, oh, that kicks in high gear. It's delicious. It's edible. Immediately, the hero I adored because although he's kind of grumpy, grouchy, and begrudgingly looking after the heroine, he is so protective of her, making sure that she is prepared for the trek. And later on in the book, he is equally as protective of her with her family. The hero's another one that's like top tier, new book boyfriend. Even when they were kind of coming to blows and bickering in earnest, he still took care of her. He would be bickering with her and packing up the tent and making sure that she had gloves so she didn't get frostbite. And if she lost her glove, he would give his glove. There was all these little things where he was just constantly showing up for her, showing that someone cared. And there's a scene, there was only one tent, which I have already loved when Elizabeth O'Rourke did this, and A Devil in the Deep Blue Sea. The heroine, I feel like, was a really good blend of some of Elizabeth O'Rourke's other heroines that are more melancholy and her kind of bantery, spitfiery ones. I feel like this was a truly good blend. She definitely gives that like oldest daughter energy, even though she's not. Family is just so emotionally immature, especially her mom. But this book got me misty-eyed with just the hero encouraging her to stand up for herself the way she stands up for other people. And it was just nice to see that she was able to like put down her burdens, even if she didn't want to, with him, and he could pick things up and just take care of her. I also like that we only sparingly get Miller's perspective. It's just a couple short chapters here and there, and it's like the perfect amount to get a little bit of insight into him. And it's used mostly when they're separated, so you can see what's going on with him rather than like revealing his entire emotional hand. This was one of those books that I was just so devastated when it was over. I wanted it to just keep going. This is one of my favorites from Elizabeth O'Rourke. Next up is one that I don't think I've shut up about all year, so I apologize. It's When the Moon Hatched by Sarah A. Parker. This is a fantasy romance. It's part of an incomplete series. I think the next book is coming out in April of next year? I don't know. I feel like the dates moved a couple of times, but basically the way you have power in this world is by being able to hear more gods. So there's the god that created the dragons, and then there's a bunch of elemental gods, and the ones that you can hear are the elemental gods. The more you can hear, the higher up in society that you are. And our heroine is a bounty hunter in this world. So she is partly there working with the rebellion by choice, partly by compulsion, but she's on her latest run, one that she really wanted to do. She gets a little bit sloppy with this bounty, and someone ends up seeing her and ends up reporting her. So the Gilded Nobles, people that can hear two gods, want to make a political statement out of her capture and make sure like no one else comes after them, because that's what she was doing, was like offing people in their class. So they hold her in the prison while she awaits trial. And this is where our hero Khan ends up finding her. And he's trying to hunt down these moon shards, and he realizes that he has stumbled upon nothing short of a miracle. So this absolutely blew me out of the water. I have a vlog of this one as well that I will link up here. I have not had really good luck with fantasy romance or romantasy in the past couple of years. What's really popular right now just doesn't seem to be what speaks to me and what I'm drawn to. And so I had kind of written off fantasy romance almost entirely. This was one that last year I kept seeing on the tops of everybody's like favorite reads. I'm too curious for my own good. Kind of went in thinking this is going to be another Fourth Wing situation. It's going to be another Phantasma situation. And I end up absolutely loving this because I feel like this is very unique without really trying hard to be unique. The writing is very beautiful. I think like the setup does take a while and it is a bit confusing to get into initially, but once things take off, oh my God, baby, was I sad. I could not put this down. The hero is perfect levels of broody and gruff without being mean. And the heroine is actually strong. Novel concept. But I feel like lately in fantasy romances, in romantasy, we got a lot of strong heroines, which just means that they're very sassy and stubborn, but not necessarily like capable, smart. And I feel like she is very intelligent and often self-deprecating. So she is sassy and strong in a true sense of those words. The romance has so much pining. Oh my God, when you understand the depths of the pining by the end of this book, my God, it's painful. It's soul deep. And there's not this like settled in, like, yay, they're together. And now they take on the world together. By the end of this book, there's still more with the romance to unravel, which I think will be so key in that continuing to develop and keep you hooked in those next books. And I feel like with the world, we've just started to uncover the politics, scratch the surface, better understand the complications of the politics, because she's just getting those insights finally. She only had her worldview before then. Oh my God. There's prophecies, there's warrior clans, there's men fighting over the heroine gladiator style, and there's dragons. Don't forget the dragons. Ending was juicy. It revealed so much. There's so much that you look back and you're like, that's what that was about. That's what that was about. I reread the epilogue 5 times. I had to make sure I didn't miss a single detail. I am so excited to reread this because I will absolutely be rereading this so that I can fully enjoy that next book in the series when it comes out. All right, next up, one you knew was coming. It's Untouchable by Sam Mariano. This is a standalone dark bully romance. It's new adult, and I think technically there's some sports, but not really. In this, the heroine gets one of the members of the football team suspended for harassing her. This does not go over well with her peers. Her senior year is filled with pranks and harassments. You name it, they're doing it to her. But she doesn't feel bad. She actually feels very good, like she did the right thing, even if it's led to these terrible consequences. Unfortunately, this does end up attracting the attention of the quarterback and some of his lackeys. While many may covet his attention, she doesn't want his attention, not in this way, because he is an absolute nightmare. He has this facade of a golden boy that he's constructed and fooled everyone with, but she's awoken this beast in him, and he has found the perfect target because she's already reported one football player for harassment, so surely she can't report another without looking like a liar. And he uses her for all of his twisted games. This one is one of those books that absolutely 100% deserves the hype. This is very intense though, I will say, especially the first like 10% of the book, maybe even more. I remember texting Nicci, I'm like, when is this scene done? This has been chapters of this scene and it's so painful and it's so scary. I was like, there's no way that Carter turns around. There's no way I'm gonna like him as a hero. And yet, this is my like second favorite book of the year. I think what makes them so good together is that you see how much these two think very similarly. They just have different sets of morals, and because they have different morals, then they play by different sets of rules and are okay with doing certain things but not others. So many mind games. It makes for so much tension as you watch Zoe try and navigate around Carter's line of thinking and use his thinking against him, or at least manipulate him just enough or get him to see it just different enough so that she can make a situation tolerable or even be on board with it.
Oh, and I forgot one important thing because I was fading at this point. I think what makes this such an exceptional bully romance is that Zoe never breaks. You know how in bully romances, a lot of times the heroine breaks and then that outburst of emotion suddenly makes the hero realize, man, maybe I should be treating her this way. That's not what happens here, but it's more like the more they learn about each other, the more they learn kind of how to manipulate each other so that they can both be somewhat at least on board with what's happening. Anyway, I just wanted to jump in and say that because I have a little bit more of a brain today, and I'll let you get back to the video.
Because this is single POV, it makes Carter feel even more unpredictable until you really learn how his mind works. Don't even get me started on Carter. Like I said, I truly didn't think I was going to come around to him, but his sense of humor was so dark, so twisted. And the more you pull back of his facade, the more you see a softer side of him and how much that facade is built up to protect himself, but he's never quite goes fully soft on you. All right, last book. I have been filming forever. And while I'd love to say that this one will be quick, I really do love this book so much. And it is Did They Break You by KV Rose. So this is a new release from her. This is dark, 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 dark. Second chance bully romance. The synopsis is so vague, so I'm going to give you a little bit more about what this book is about. So just be forewarned. But basically, this kind of has like a dual timeline. In the past timeline, Remy's this quiet cheerleader. She is largely unnoticed, and it stays that way until Cortland moves to town, and he's kind of the new big shot on campus. And even though he's dating the head cheerleader, he notices Remy and becomes very, very intrigued by her. But when the book opens, we're at this very pivotal moment. We get an upfront view of something really horrible that's happened to Remy, and Cortland and his friends are involved. Remy's not the same after this. When she goes to college, she's very broken. She's dyeing her hair. She's wearing oversized hoodies. She's very reclusive. She doesn't really interact with anybody. She's not really enjoying college. And Cortland knows that he really should stay away from her, but he just can't stand that she's not his anymore. I have to warn you. I don't have to do that. I have to warn you. The opening scene is so rough. It's very similar to Untouchable. I felt sick to my stomach. I wanted to cry. I wanted to just hold the heroine. I felt so bad. And you're like, how is this hero going to come back from this? How am I going to love this guy? But then you see more from his perspective and hear more about how he saw things. And you really learn to feel for both of these characters and the turmoil that they're in without ever really walking back and saying like, well, that thing that happened isn't what happened. It just plays in this gray area, right? There's like nothing cut and dry. There's like no perfect victim. There's no evil villain. Everyone's somewhere in the gray. And a lot of this book is them having to reckon with this night and whether or not this is something that they can move past so that they can really be together. But not only between the both of them, everybody in their lives know what happened. So even when they feel like maybe I can get past this, maybe I can forgive her, other people are in their lives, in their ear being like, you can't, you remember what they did. Especially with Remy, if she loves Cortland, does that change what happened? Does that suddenly make her a liar? Can she still love him after all of this? I just love that although Remy was very broken, she has her fire come back, and Cortland's a big part of just like pushing her and pushing her and pushing her to bring that spark back. Cortland eventually becomes this kind of cinnamon roll type guy. He's very angry. He's got this very prickly outside, but he becomes so sweet. It's just the perfect toxic relationship. It's so intensely toxic. It reminds me a lot of Ecstasy in that way. And I think if you like Ecstasy and that opening scene where the assault is happening, if that's something that you can read and are okay with that, definitely check trigger warnings with this one. I think you'll really enjoy this one. It's very similar to Ecstasy in that kind of like messiness and toxicness and the gray and nobody's all villain or all hero. Oh, it's so good. There's so many scenes from this book that are just rent free in my head. And I'm so excited for the next books to come out in this series because there's a duet that's going to be about one of the side characters, Storm. I'm ready for it, y'all. I'm ready for it. But that is my favorite book of the year. All right, if you have made it to the end of this video, thank you so much for being here. Those were all of my favorite videos. Those were all of my favorite books from the year. I would now love to hear from you what your favorite book of the year was. Let me know what it was, why you loved it. Let me know if you've read any of these books, and if you had the same or a different experience with these books, I'd love to hear that as well. Since you made it this far, don't forget to like this video if you did end up liking it, and don't forget to please subscribe. I would love to have you back for more videos. And with all of that, I really hope I see you on my next video. Bye-bye.